And well, she can tell her story. Katrine.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Liana. I told Liana before, I'm not really used to talking about myself. I usually talk about others or ask other people questions. So now I'm kind of like used to be behind the camera and I'm before the camera. So I'm a bit like uneasy, but I think that it will be perfectly fine.
Yeah.
So my name is Katrine. I am, how should I introduce myself? I am originally a journalist from Denmark/Sweden, and right now I live in Switzerland with my family. I have a pretty newly started company that works with online education within the field of personal development. And this is also an area that I really burn for, that it's always been a really big part of my life for different reasons. So yeah, I'm kind of in the right place right now.
Yeah, it's amazing. So one of the reasons I actually asked Katrine to be here is because I have different courses in the platform that she has, and I just loved it. And I know that it's something that, personal development is so important, not only now with 2020, but all the time. And I felt that I had to contact you. And like I said, I'm so grateful that you're here. But how did you go from being a journalist to starting the platform?
Yeah, there's quite some years in between there when I finished my journalism and when we started this. But you might say, I've never been a person that taking like this, the one path and stick to it. So I was kind of always trying, or maybe not deliberately, I was always kind of going with the flow wherever, I felt like there was something dragging me at the moment. And the reason actually, before I started this company, I was working more in communications. So I went from journalism to communications and worked in different organizations, all from schools to hospitals to political organizations. And the one thing they had in common, that it was kind of, I was always in service. That was my common denominator, is always in service. And I think I was at the time living in Sweden with my husband and our two kids. And we were like in this stage where, you have good jobs, quite good jobs. It's starting to get pretty stable. You have like most things you want. And we had just bought a house, like in a beautiful area close to the sea. And kids went to school and everything was kind of like, yeah, nice. And, then something started to itch inside of us, and we felt like, okay, so is this supposed to be the way we're gonna do it, from now on? And like bit by bit, we were starting to talk. Every time we had like a dinner night out on our own, we were like, okay, so what are we gonna plan? Should we do something? What should it be? We were dreaming on doing like other stuff, traveling, but we never really could it's kind of hard when you're living in this everyday life and everything is just going in circles, and you have the safety somehow. And to go from having safety into maybe taking a leap into something completely different, it's a pretty intense choice. So we were talking a lot, and then suddenly something just felt right. And then it ended up me quitting my job and he quitting his business. And then we went traveling with the kids. And and then when we started to just not more focus anymore on, security and, what we thought was the right thing, suddenly things started to come to us in weird ways. It started to happen things, or we met people that helped us to the next step and to the next step. And this is now 3 years ago. And since 2 years ago, we're living in Switzerland. And there we happened to stumble over this great company that help people, they give educations in the field of personal development, help people kind of find their meaning or like go further in life from where they may be stuck or something. And then we just got the opportunity to start a company in Sweden with the same purpose. So long story short, or short story long, I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So how long were you away traveling?
It was 3 months. So it's not like this. It was long for us because our kids were 2 and 5.
Okay.
So we went like kind of, first we went to Cuba for 4 weeks because I always wanted to go there. I just like had this fascination about Cuba. And then we went on to the US, and then we kind of did like backpacking. We went by car and just saw a great amount of the country and traveled around. Yeah. And it was a huge experience. And I think what we were a bit scared in the beginning, because usually as like a family with young kids, you're always told that, you should plan, or what if this happens, or safety or whatever. And then we just took this choice that let's just do it. Just like buy a plane ticket and go and see what happens. And in the end, everything worked out perfectly.
Yeah.
And the kids were just tagging along. And so it was a really cool experience.
Yeah, that's amazing. But have you and your husband always been into personal development, or is this something that came along the way?
Good question. I was thinking about that before because I knew you would ask. I think I was always kind of a searcher. I mean, I know my husband became like a few years ago, he started to really like think about these things. But for me, it was like always already as a child, I was kind of like a bit an anxious child. I had a lot of I was doing a lot of analyzing, was very worried. And also as a teenager, like all these kind of things with self-worth, who am I? What is my place? Like most teenagers maybe go through in that age.
Yeah.
I had like struggled sometimes with, depressions or anxiety and stuff like that. And maybe it's kind of like the start for me I just kind of wanted to find ways to feel better, And so this has kind of been, and now I just like working with that. I'm really interested in mainly like, what is it that makes people happy? What is it that makes us happy in the end? And how can we influence it ourselves?
Right. Yeah. And I mean, a lot of the content that it's in the platform, it's very, what's it called? It's to question yourself a lot, question your beliefs, and question, what we have been taught, because a lot of it, and something that I want to bring more awareness to, is just that there is so much that we have been taught that maybe doesn't help us. Like you mentioned that, you had the stability, and you had the home, and you had the house, and you had everything, but you still felt that something was missing, or you wanted something more. And I think that people, it's not about being needy. I think it's about finding your purpose and finding what you should really be doing. And also that, maybe you're not meant to be doing the same thing your whole life, right? Because you have to still grow. And I think that people can grow all the time, and you can't do that if you're doing the same thing your whole life. That's my belief.
Yeah, I think you're completely right there. And I think we're also moving past from that. Like before, in society, it was like you find your occupation, what you're supposed to do, and then you kind of do it your whole life, or you're like in the same field. And today, I think also in the future, it will require that people are more flexible. And I think that's also kind of, who we are maybe in the end. And that we stop kind of identifying us with, we're doing this, it's like we are the ones we are, no matter if we're doing that or that. So
Right.
it's like more, deeper purpose or something like that.
Yeah. So how has it been to start? I mean, from going from being a stable family living in Sweden to, making all these changes and living in another country. I mean, has it been easy, or have there been moments that you feel like, what are we doing? Let's go back to what we did before.
No, now we're just a stable family living in Switzerland. No. No, sure. But I think the biggest doubts I had before we made the choices, before I made the choice to quit my job in Sweden, before we made the choice to go traveling, before we made the choice to leave Sweden for Switzerland, before we kind of, knew what to do. Now we have the job, because we came to Sweden and we had Switzerland and we had nothing.
Right.
So I think the biggest anxiety, or the biggest worry, or what takes the most courage is actually to take the leap. All the worries you have before you really decide, okay, let's do it. Because usually when you do it, it maybe doesn't at all end up the way you want it to be, but still you have already taken the step, and then it's usually kind of hard to maybe say, okay, let's go back, because back is in the past. Of course, sometimes I missed my colleagues, or I miss some, when when you feel like you're in a phase where you don't feel so good about yourself. This new country is weird. People are talking weird to you. They don't understand you. You're always like this weird Scandinavian or something. Then I can maybe feel, oh, I just want to talk to my old colleagues, or I just want to go to my old job for a day. But it's not like I really want to go back.
Yeah.
It's not possible anymore.
Yeah. It's more the feeling that you are missing, right?
Yeah.
So how does it work? Because you and your husband work together, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it the first time you two work together?
Yeah.
Or have you worked together before?
Mm-mm.
Okay. So how does that work? I mean, to have that boundary between work and home, and
or not have the boundary between. In the beginning it was quite a challenge, because you were kind of you're together with your business partner, and the business partner is your mate, and the business partner is the father of your children, and it all becomes this fuzzy mess. But I guess we just grew with it somehow, and you kind of have to take your turns. And sometimes you maybe, if you start to talk work at 11 o'clock in a Sunday evening, I say to him, "Hey, shut up now,"
Right.
But you just have to kind of learn, and sometimes it hurts a little bit. Sometimes you maybe, everything becomes too much, but then you, in the end, you find your path somehow together.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, I say that now. Maybe it's different tomorrow.
Everyone has its days. It doesn't matter if you're work partners or not.
No, I mean, but I think if you're really open, I mean, a positive thing about working together, for example, is that before we had our different careers, or our different workplaces. We saw each other just in the weekends or in evenings. And, we didn't talk about our work so much, because sometimes, I wasn't all that interested in what his work was, and he was maybe not all that interested in mine. And now we have this common thing that we have together also, that we can, that can make us grow together even more. Yeah. So if we just find the right balance, it's a really positive thing. Yeah. It can actually make you grow together even more.
Yeah, that's wonderful. But what did he work with before?
Thomas had done different things. In Sweden, we met in Sweden. He's Swiss. And then at the time he was working for a big company. So he came as an expat. And then his journey already started much before mine. Then he had quite some downturns. I remember maybe 9 years ago, where he was feeling really bad, where he was like starting to doubt in this corporate world. And he was like, I had it with all these like, big meetings and people that are like always having these, you have this important roles, and in the end, no one knows what the other one is doing. And you're sitting in hours in meetings and talking and planning, but it feels like you're so far from really doing. So he had kind of a downer, and then he just kind of decided that I have to do something else. I have to do something with my hands. He told me like one evening, and I was like, okay, you do something. Okay, you want to do something with your hands? Sure, just find out what. So he was kind of searching for a while, and then in the end, he decided that he wanted to be a massage therapist. So he took an additional education in Sweden, and worked with that for many years there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you went away and traveled, did you know what you were gonna do afterwards, or how did everything evolve?
No, I had kind of like an idea that I wanted to work with my own company. That was always my longing. I think I'd always been employed before. It was kind of my, I always took the jobs that I saw coming, that I thought, hey, this is probably the thing I should do, and it seems good and stuff like that. But I had a longing inside that I wanted to have my own company. So this was also partly the reason why I quit my job before we went traveling, because I didn't want to come back and just, go into the same wheel as we were before. So my plan was that I was going to start my company as a journalist and communications officer, and just like do different things there, which was not so easy, but very, very good learning. And my husband, he had quit his massage practice that he had, and he didn't want to go back. He kind of decided that he had some troubles also with his back and neck, and then he decided that he wanted also to do like a clean sheet and move further.
Yeah.
So so no, we didn't know exactly what we were going to do afterwards.
Right.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And I think that, thinking about myself being a mother as well, taking that leap, being a parent, I can understand that it was hard, because, my husband and I have also talked about, what if we, just sell everything and travel and see what happens. But it's just the whole thought. It's not so much about let's see what happens. It's more about how will we do it with the kids? Their education and everything. Your kids were a bit younger than mine are today, but still, it's amazing that you still did it, because one thing is being by yourself or with a partner and just say, hey, let's try it and see what happens. But being a whole family, it does take more courage to do something like that. So that's amazing. But how did you even come? The whole Younity thing, how did that got started?
We decided to, I think after being back from the States or from our travels, half a year or something, we kind of decided that the kids were in an age, we'd been living together in Sweden for 10 years, and Thomas is Swiss, so my husband, and he was kind of looking a bit towards, hey, maybe we should try, now that we anyway are kind of on the move, should we not try Switzerland? And I was like, yeah, okay. Now we just came back from our trip and stuff, but then in the end we decided, let's try it. So we had an idea that what we wanted to do, but not fix. And that was, of course, also a really that was something that was a bit worrying also. We went from Sweden and actually, took we rented out our house, and we put everything we could in a big truck, and then we went down to Switzerland to an apartment that we rented, but we didn't have any income. And that was, of course, a bit like Switzerland is much more expensive than Sweden. And you somehow you have to have an income in the end. And this was a bit like a not so very comfortable decision. But in the end, I think we kind of knew that we had to try it. So then we went down and we started kind of like just looking and being a bit open to opportunities. And then Thomas came home one day and he said, yeah, I have this company that I've always followed myself on internet. I like their educations. They're like Swiss and they do educations in German. And I've done a lot of their online educations. And then he said, yeah, maybe I will give the CEO and I will send him an email. I was like, okay, yeah, you do that. So he took like a picture of us from the beach, from our travels, like all of us. And he's like, yeah, we're this Swiss, Danish, Swedish family. And we've just come to Switzerland and we would really like to work with something like you do. And he was just writing stuff. And then he waited. And then nothing happened. And I was like, yeah, I told you so. And then suddenly one day he said, yeah, I got an answer. I'm going to meet the CEO for a coffee next week. And I was like, okay, yeah, sure. Okay, you do that. And then the week after he went to this coffee and he came back and I was like, okay, what are you saying? What did you talk about? And he was like, yeah, I mean, he liked my idea a lot, so he invited us to a meeting together. And I was like, okay. So it's really this weird, like, kind of surreal way of just things happening. And of course, Thomas had like initiated it because he really liked the platform. But and then it came actually through that in that moment, they had already decided that they wanted to go abroad. They were just like in the beginning it was a fixed like German product. They were just doing courses in Germany, but they had decided, hey, we want to like sell this concept to a lot of different countries. So they can also, they have a lot of great speakers. Why shouldn't we like export them?
Right.
So we were one of the first countries that started. We were just like came in the right, like I think in the right momentum. Yeah. And so, yeah, this was kind of our fate to start this, I think.
Yeah. How amazing. Well, it's great. I mean, how, from thinking about, let's travel and see what happens to moving to another country and starting something totally new for both of you.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds so easy. I have to say, now I talk about it, it sounds like, we did this and then we did that and then we jumped from this to that. My whole life, I've actually done really responsible things. I've always been like a person that has really, thought about things and analyzed them and how should I do it? And is this right or this right? And always like played safe. So this is has been one of my greatest challenges ever, that to just like kind of let go. And, but I think, what I've learned, that when you start to let go, it's kind of, even it doesn't matter how it works out, if it becomes a success or not. It's about letting go, and then you find out that, okay, it wasn't that hard. So then next time something comes up, okay, then you don't have to cling on to the past so much. Then it's easier to let go again. So it's kind of this like movement forward. And if you keep like being on this movement, or like maybe just like take a leap sometimes, then you're kind of training your inner courage muscle to kind of, squeeze a little bit harder next time. So it's,
Oh, that's amazing. That's a great teaching or a lesson for you, and to be able to share that as well. To let go and have a little bit of more faith in whatever could happen.
Yeah.
So what has been the hardest part about, from starting your own business for the first time, and maybe not really knowing every part of it, and to what you are today? What has been the hardest with that?
I think a bit what I talked about before, kind of letting go and trusting the process, that it will work out in the end. I think that's been the really, and I'm struggling with it still, daily, but it comes and goes. And then sometimes you wake up in the night and you're like, gosh, what am I doing? What's going to become of me, or what's going to become of this business, or, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the right thing for our kids, or whatever, so then you kind of have to like come back to yourself and always like try to focus on saying, okay, but if I try to let go now and see what happens. And so this is really the hardest part, because our brains are kind of like, they're always on, we have this like constant on button, sometimes even when we sleep. That's why so many of us don't sleep so well, because it's like always going on up there. And, it's like, it's not even yourself. It's like what other people say, or what you hear on the news, or what you hear this person that you look up to are saying. It's like all kind of voices outside of you. And that's what makes it so hard to maybe just look inside and say, okay, what do I trust myself? What does my inner me say about this? And we don't trust ourselves generally, and that's why it's sometimes also so hard to kind of find our path, I think.
Yeah, but that's wonderful. Also you having your husband and he having you, because I know when I have a bad day, he's there for me, and the other way around. And I guess that could be something very good. Working together as well, the days that you feel like, why am I doing this? And the other one can actually tell you, like, this is a good thing. So that's amazing. So how has 2020 been for you guys, both personally and with the company?
Business-wise, we have been very blessed, very lucky, because we're in a business where it's actually many people today, they can't see each other, they can't see their loved ones, they maybe have not a lot of time on their hands, and they maybe start to look a bit inwards. You don't have all these distractions anymore that tell you, oh, now I feel a bit weird, but then I go and do that, because then I don't have to think about it anymore. We don't have that. And then people tend to maybe look a bit more inward. And this is kind of what we offer for people. It's a way of helping them looking inward, getting more like inside yourself and your own, who am I? What is important to me? Who am I when I don't have my outer distractions all the time? And so in that matter, it's 2020 has been quite a good year for us. I mean, we're working also remote, and it doesn't matter where I am. And the online world is the only world that has actually been, working more or less as normal this year. But personally, I mean, I've had the same. I'm in Switzerland. I'm far away, but I'm a plane ride away from my family. A plane ride that I can't take right now. And before I was used to seeing my family all the time. So this is, of course, something that is a bit hard, and also the feeling of, I'm not controlling my own daily life. Someone else or something else is controlling it at the moment. And I mean, so personally, of course, it's been a rocky road also.
But I think that's something that I felt, that the lives that I have had this year, I actually have made it like a standard question is how your 2020 has been. And there is this red line that goes through almost all the answers, and it's that going inwards and working with yourself. And because like you mentioned, this year or last year was kind of like a pause for everyone, and actually kind of think twice, who am I, or what am I doing, or just have much more reflection than we otherwise would have, because when everything is working normal, you're into it. But now that things kind of got a bit rocky, many people had to think through things one more time, or maybe for the first time. I don't know. And I really do think, like I said, I have several of the courses in your platform, and I know there are courses that actually, if you haven't asked yourself who you are, it's a great place to go because so many of the people that are there with the courses, they have studied for years how our brain works, or how, quantum physics is, depending on the person, right? And our beliefs and everything. And I find that so amazing. I have so many books about that. So I really do enjoy the platform and the courses, and I really do think that it's something that people should look more into. Whether it is, if you're, you don't have to feel that, oh, I have lost myself. It's not about that. It's more about maybe seeing what things within me can I change to become even better, or to maybe realize something about life. Because one thing that I have felt is that sometimes people don't really realize the importance of life until something is taken away from you, or something really bad happens. And that's something I want to bring more awareness to, that you don't have to go that far, or just, to understand that how precious life is, and that you can do so much more than we have been taught to.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. They're completely, this is also what a lot of our teachers are saying, and that, why do you have to be like become very ill, be in an accident, or be in a trauma to actually start to look at your life in a different way? Many of us maybe are half sleeping a little bit, and then first we get like this, I don't know, bump to our head. Yeah. And then suddenly we see things. But why? Many of us can just like learn how to not like maybe transform ourselves completely, but maybe just look into some parts of ourselves a little bit more closely. And then we find out, hey, I could actually do this. Why didn't I do this before? Why didn't I believe that I could do that? And this is really amazing, I think. And this is also, I'm also really grateful that I get to work with all these like fantastic speakers, and some of them I didn't even know before, but they're like, it's, and all, they have like their different perspectives and different methods, but all are leading towards the same goal. And it's kind of like, how can you enjoy this world and this life better?
Right. Yeah.
Just by being you, or how can you be more in the present, instead of maybe chasing bigger cars or a house, or like, I don't know, outer attractions.
Yeah, the material things.
Yeah.
So with, being surrounded with all these teachers and all these amazing courses, what have you learned most out of it? Other than, being taking the chances, and is there anything else that you have really taken with you?
I think, one of the things I've learned is that I'm really good at meditating. And everyone can be that. I was always a person that was really like, I like fast things. I like running. I like physical stuff, things that are making me sweat, or everything that really feels in the body. And I was always kind of stressed by sitting down and meditating, or like just being with myself. And since we started to have those courses, I've gone into this more. I mean, I was doing yoga before and stuff like that, but meditation was always like really hard for me. And I also have many friends that tell me, you know, I can't do meditation. I'm not a meditation person.
Yeah.
And it's not true. Everyone are, but it's just, we have different boundaries we need to like get over.
Yeah.
And different, there's meditation for everyone, but meditation is like one of the most transforming things you can do today for yourself. Just to like, it can be 10 minutes or 15 minutes. It doesn't have to be an hour all the time. It's like, it's about, you know, anchoring yourself in you, and this makes you kind of go through your own day in a completely different way than if you maybe not take this time for yourself. So this is something I also learned for myself as a beginner.
How about being a mother? Because I know how much I have changed from before I was a mother, and my thoughts about being a mother and how I was supposed to raise my children, to now when I have learned so many things, and I still have a lot to learn, but how I should teach my children about life. How has that changed for you?
Oh, you mean like the last couple of years, or since I got a kid? Since we got...
Yeah, or maybe, I mean, I'm guessing that when you got your children, you had a perception on things, and now with all what you're doing today and all the courses, that you might be aware of many things that you weren't aware when you became a mom.
Yeah.
How has that impacted you as a mother? How are you teaching your children the information that you get?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think they're mostly teaching me all the time.
Yeah, that too.
But I think when the biggest change from like being a newborn mother to, for example, today, is that I kind of, you know, I kind of thought that when you get a child, then you become mother, you know, then you're a parent. Yeah. But I felt like becoming a mother or a parent is something you really grow into. And all the perceptions I had in my head about, you know, what is a parent like? What is a parent's biggest, you know, what do you say? What is my responsibility as a parent? It was maybe more like in the beginning, parent, child, you know, I'm the parent, this is the child. And then like, especially of course also now when I have all these like fantastic teachers, I realize that it's also about like me getting to know my inner child again, you know, who and being also this, being childish together with the children, discovering things together with them. But also, of course, it's like this balance, you know, you can't be a child with them. You also, in the end, you also have to be an adult, but you have to give them this space that they can grow, and then give them like a good boundaries around, but have some air where they can grow and not butt into everything all the time. And I learned also that it's very little about me and what I want and how I want the house to be or how I want our lives to work. In the end, you know, it's also in the beginning where my kids were small, and, you know, you could have such a stressy morning because all you wanted was your kids to be ready, that we could go at like 7:30 and they could be in daycare, and I could get to my work so I could go to my meeting and everything would be fine, and the kids wouldn't do it. You know, they were like doing all those kind of things, or stamping their little feet and saying, you know, you don't decide, mama, or something like that. And I was so frustrated about it. And until I learned, you know, why it's just like giving myself stress and my kids stress when I'm all the time frustrated about things I anyway can't like affect, and just like kind of go with them a little bit and try to push a bit in different directions. And then in the end, they go to school happy and I go to work happy, instead of they going to school angry and I'm going to school with like a guilty conscience and, you know, sad about the morning being so distressed. Yeah. So it's really a process. It's not something it's really something you have to grow into, and it's not always so successful.
No.
Especially not in Corona
mistake,
times.
right?
I mean, many families are much more together now, which is a blessing, but it can also be really hard because you don't have your own space. You feel like when you were you had your like daily time where you went to your workplace and you had your like space there, and then you came home, and now it's much more like, you have to work like a unity, which is not always easy. It has its demands.
Yeah, it does. But that's part of being a parent. Also, that's amazing. So is there anything else that you want to share about what you have learned so far with your experience with just letting go of everything that was okay to going to something that you didn't know what the next step was, or with all the amazing teachers that you have in the platform, or
no, I think the most important thing that I maybe also learned on the way that is not really, I didn't mention at all, it was all about courage. It's kind of maybe also the art of being accepting to yourself and to where you are, and not beat yourself up about things or opportunities that maybe didn't become, or goals you didn't reach. Kind of like you really have this accepting attitude to yourself, because this will also give you room to grow where you want to go.
Yeah.
And then I want to say that if you doesn't matter, you don't have to be Swedish. You can also be English speaking or Spanish speaking or Arabic speaking. The company we're working for, we have our own section of the company in Sweden. It's called Younity Sweden, but Younity actually exists in a lot of different countries. So if you're interested in like personal growth and online education, you can go in and check the webpage Younity.one. There you can find more information, and you have it in Spanish if you prefer Spanish, or English, or Svenska. I'm speaking.
Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah, that's great. And I do really believe like the year that was and the year that still is, that people are looking for more of that content, and to find different ways and find yourself more, or understand why things work the way they work, or I don't know. There's so much content, so let's just leave it at that. So Katrine, thank you so much for being part of this and sharing your story, and inspiring others to take that leap of faith and see what happens.
Thank you. I was taking the leap of faith today because I'm not so good in talking about myself, I said, but yet I've been talking about myself in 45 minutes now.
Yeah, no problem, you say.
But thank you for being such a great spokesperson, and for also inspiring others with your live videos and Zumba and everything else that you're doing. Yeah. I think that's really cool.
Yes, thank you so much. So you guys, if you have any questions, just put it down and we will try to answer them afterwards. And like Katrine said, Younity, you can find that in several places. I know if you have Facebook, there are several Younity pages depending on where you are. So check it out. Like I said, have been part of it for some years now, and I'm so happy for that. So yeah, once again, I wish you guys a great week, and thank you again, Katrine, for being here.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.